Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to Sunday morning meditation. If you are joining me now, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this later, I'm so glad you took the time. I'm changing the platform of streaming, so I'm just hoping that everything will go well this morning. We'll see. And that's actually, good morning. It actually brings me to the topic of today. So if you're just joining me, because I see the numbers show up on my screen, again, good morning and happy Sunday. And thank you for joining. If you're watching this later, please drop me a like, or even better, a comment, so I know that you were here. And I was just saying the topic of today's reflection, exploration, is not knowing. I was a few months ago at Upaya Zen Center for a training for medical professionals and therapists that's called GRACE. One of the exercises that Roshi John Halifax instructed us to do was a rather peculiar one. We were set in pairs, and we were instructed to answer "I don't know" to whatever we were questioned. And can you imagine yourself simply answering "I don't know"? I don't know. The exercise was designed to allow us to feel and sense, both in our mind and in our body, the reaction we have to not knowing. And even if you think you know something very well, perhaps there are aspects of it that you don't know. Not knowing is, a variation of impermanence, but it goes deeper than that. It goes into a place, an essence of curiosity. So when we explore not knowing, we're not in the business of creating doubt per se, doubt and fear. It is the opposite of that, is creating space for a different kind of understanding, different possibilities. I had this discussion with my son, who just turned 18, and he's in the process of getting accommodations for his disability. He's an autism spectrum kid at the University of Maryland, and he sent him all the information. He's very thorough, and he got back an email from the director saying, "You've only sent me this and that, I need XYZ," which he had already sent. So he went into a very upset state of mind. He also didn't sleep enough, and he assumed that the woman that answered him simply didn't care. There was a whole speech, right, about how she doesn't care and what can we do, and now he's not going to have his accommodations. And I said to him, how do you know all that? How do you know? How can you possibly know what is in this woman's heart? Perhaps she doesn't care, although it's kind of her job to care. Perhaps she had a rough night. Perhaps she's so overwhelmed that she didn't read your email thoroughly. And I said, just, take a breath for yourself and just be with the possibility that you don't really know what is going on in her mind, what is happening in her life. Be curious. Of course, the story ends well. He sent a nice email back asking and clarifying. She answered back saying there was some email mayhem, apologized, and gave him the accommodations that he deserves. So not knowing, not jumping to conclusions, not making assumptions. How can we be this way when normally we are judgment-making machines? It is our mind's tendency, and for evolutionary reasons, a good tendency to make meaning, to explain, to project. All of this prevents us often from having an experience of now and from having an assessment of what is taking place that perhaps can be closer to reality. Being in the present moment, I have some quarrels with how this is interpreted, and too long for this intro to our meditation. Maybe another time. But truly having an experience that is closer to reality depends in many ways of a quality of not knowing. So it is time. Perhaps you find an even more comfortable position for yourself. And then gently closing the eyes, or perhaps leaving them simply lower down, softly, finding a spot in front of you where your gaze simply rests and widens. In a moment, the bell will sound. Indicating the beginning of today's practice. Let us first bring the awareness to simply rest in the body. Perhaps noticing where your body connects with the surface on which you're sitting or lying down. Notice, is the surface pushing up against you, or are you pressing down towards the surface? Do you know? Allow now the attention to go to your breath as it is. Being the breath detective, notice where you feel your breath the most. Perhaps in the rise and fall of your chest, or maybe in the abdomen. Possibly you notice the air as it comes in through the aperture of the nostrils, cooler, leaving warmer. Invite a longer, deeper breath, perhaps on a count of 4 in and 4 out. As you breathe slow and deep, massaging the vagus nerve, inviting the parasympathetic nervous system to enhance calmness and relaxation. Let us scan the body, beginning with your feet. Wherever the awareness rests, wherever you bring attention to, more relaxation. The feet releasing, the arches of the feet, the top of the feet, the toes relaxing. As relaxation moves upwards in the body, the ankles releasing, the lower legs relaxing, the knees, the back of the knees, sinking towards the surface on which you're sitting or lying down. Notice the upper legs, the pelvis area. As awareness unfolds, relaxation is being enhanced. The abdomen, the lower back releasing. The chest and upper back. Each in-breath brings in even more relaxation. Each out-breath sends relaxation throughout your body and your mind. Notice the shoulders relaxing towards the arms, the elbows releasing, the palms, the fingers softening. Invite an opening in the neck, in the throat with relaxation. The face muscles releasing even more. The jaws softening, opening, inviting a gentle parting of the lips. As you allow body and mind to inhabit focused relaxation, you are allowing yourself a time for reflection and exploration. Perhaps a question is rising. What do you really know for certain? What are you 100% sure of? Let yourself rest with this question as I grow quiet. I will ask again, what do you know for certain? What are you 100% sure of? Perhaps you have gained wisdom with your life experiences. Perhaps you have studied a trade, a discipline that you have gotten very skilled at. And yet, can you say you are 100% certain this is the way? I invite you to look at your life until this point in time and notice of the things that you were certain of what you thought you knew for a fact. Were you always correct? Of the things that you were truly certain of what you thought you were 100% sure of. Were you always correct? And bring yourself to this time in our lives. And you can see how information changes daily, weekly. Perhaps you notice that what is presented as facts also changes, sometimes daily, weekly. Can you find a state of unknowing and recognize that it simply provides a place for exploration? A place for curiosity. You know that not all the very thought out plans you have made in the past have come to fruition. You know that all the future plans that perhaps you are even leery of making will come to fruition. as challenging your life is right now, as great is the suffering, can you rest in not knowing? Inviting curiosity, inviting exploration, perhaps even finding a level of freedom in the realization of not knowing. Sit with this for a moment. Allow the breath to ground you, perhaps the sensation of the body on the surface on which you're sitting or lying, and explore, living with curiosity that is born of not knowing. It's an invitation for a different kind of mindset, one that allows you to make plans for an uncertain future, simply knowing that there is no way of being certain of 100% of anything, whether it's in the information that is coming at you, or perhaps the interpretation that you are making in your own mind for the things that are taking place around you. Interpretation, making sense of, making plans, all part of our human experience. With the lens of simply saying, I don't know, inviting softness, humbleness into your life. Can you know anything for certain? Can you predict with 100% accuracy? Can anyone? We live within our own complex humanity. We interact with the complexity of other humans, of bigger systems. We're influenced and we influence our environment, our planet. Can you be curious and open, exploring, not knowing? This doesn't take away from longings, from desires, from making plans, from imagining a certain kind of future. And yet it allows us the freedom, the flexibility, the humbleness, the recognition of our humanity. Not knowing. As a conduit for growth, for exploration. For spirituality. You open your eyes in the morning and you know you have opened your eyes in the morning. You put your feet or your foot on the ground and you know your foot is on the ground. This is the present moment. What will come next? I don't know. Do you? Take a moment and bring again your awareness to your breath as it is. Soon the bell will sound indicating the completion of today's practice. Take your time, perhaps inviting movement into the body, perhaps opening the eyes, perhaps choosing to stay in relaxation, in reflection a little longer. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me here today or for tuning in later. I appreciate your presence. And let us explore together, not knowing, until we meet again.